The lights on the bridge of the UES Pathfinder dimmed as another energy surge rippled through the ship's systems. Captain Sarah Chen gripped her command chair, watching the holographic display as it tracked an object that by all known laws of physics shouldn't exist. The massive structure had appeared seemingly from nowhere at the edge of the Kuiper Belt, its surface gleaming with patterns that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. "Status report," Chen barked, her eyes never leaving the display. Dr. Marcus Rivera, the ship's chief scientist, spoke without looking up from his console. "The structure is approximately 300 kilometers in diameter. Energy readings are off the charts, but they're stable. And Captain, it's broadcasting." The message had come 3 hours ago, precise and measured, in perfect Mandarin, English, Russian, and a dozen other Earth languages. The Pathfinder, humanity's first faster-than-light vessel, had been chosen to make contact. Not that they'd been given much choice. Approaching designated coordinates, Lieutenant Patil announced from the helm, 1,000 kilometers from the structure. Chen nodded, her expression neutral despite the tension knotting her stomach. 6 months of testing the Pathfinder's experimental drive. And now this. First contact wasn't supposed to happen this way. They were supposed to find it, not have it find them. The structure's surface rippled, and a section peeled away like mercury separating from glass. A ship emerged, if you could call it that. It looked more like a geometric abstraction, made real, all impossible angles and surfaces that seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions. "They're hailing us," Communications Officer Jackson reported, his dark fingers dancing across his console. "Same frequency as before." "On screen," Chen ordered, straightening in her chair. The holographic display shifted, and Chen found herself looking at something that defied easy description. The being appeared vaguely humanoid, but its skin was like polished obsidian, with points of light moving beneath the surface like stars in a night sky. When it spoke, its voice resonated with harmonics that made the air itself seem to vibrate. "Greetings, children of Earth. I am Nexus Guide Ethereal 7, representative of the Eternal Concordat. Your species has been monitored since you first split the atom. The time has come for your assessment." Chen's jaw tightened. Assessment. All emerging civilizations must be evaluated before they are permitted to expand beyond their solar system. The Concordat maintains order. We ensure stability. Dr. Rivera's console beeped urgently. "Captain, I'm detecting massive energy builds-ups from the structure. Whatever it is, it's powering up." "We've observed your rapid technological development," Ethereal 7 continued. "Particularly interesting was your achievement of faster-than-light travel without our guidance. This is unusual. The standard procedure would be to restrict your development until proper controls can be implemented." "Restrict?" Chen's voice was sharp. "We've barely begun to explore our own solar system. What gives you the right to restrict anything?" The beam's surface rippled, points of light swirling faster. "Rights are earned through time and power, child. The Concordat has maintained galactic stability for 50 million years. We have seen civilizations like yours rise and fall. Some learn to accept guidance. Others, the pause was heavy with meaning. Others require more direct intervention." "Captain," Rivera whispered urgently, "they're scanning us. These energy readings, they could tear the Pathfinder apart with a thought." Chen stood slowly, her mind racing. Humanity had dreamed of first contact for centuries, but not like this. Not with chains attached. "And if we refuse your assessment?" "Refusal is not an option." Ethereal 7's voice carried no emotion. "You will submit to evaluation, or your species will be deemed a potential destabilizing factor. The Concordat does not permit destabilizing factors." The bridge fell silent. Chen looked at her crew, the best Earth had to offer, chosen to represent humanity among the stars. She saw fear in their eyes, yes, but something else too. Determination. Pride. "You say you've been watching us," Chen said carefully. "Then you know humanity's history. We faced extinction-level events. Ice ages, plagues, our own nuclear weapons. Each time, we survived. We adapted. We grew stronger. Your resilience is noted. It will make the integration process more challenging, but not impossible." Chen smiled, but there was steel in it. "I don't think you understand. When humans face impossible odds, we don't submit. We innovate. We find another way. Always." The being's surface roiled. "You speak as if you have a choice." "There's always a choice." Chen nodded to Rivera, who had been quietly working at his console. "For instance, while we've been talking, my science officer has been analyzing your energy patterns. Fascinating stuff. Did you know your scanning beams operate on a quantum frequency that's remarkably similar to our FTL drive's resonance field?" For the first time, Ethereal 7's composure seemed to waver. "This information is irrelevant." "Is it? Because right now, those scans you're running are creating a feedback loop with our drive. Completely accidental, of course. But in about 30 seconds, it's going to cascade through your entire scanning network. Nothing destructive, but I imagine it'll blind your sensors for quite a while." "You dare." "We dare." Chen cut in. "That's what humans do. And here's what's going to happen next. We're going to leave. When your sensors clear, we'll be gone. And you'll have a choice of your own to make. You can try to force humanity to submit, or you can recognize that maybe, just maybe, there's something to learn from a species that figured out faster than light travel on their own." The being's surface had become a maelstrom of swirling lights. "This is not how first contact proceeds. There are protocols. There are always protocols," Chen said, "until someone breaks them." Rivera. "Ready, Captain. Initiate quantum feedback." The last thing Chen saw before the holographic display dissolved into static was Ethereal 7's form, seemingly fracturing, points of light scattering like startled birds. The massive structure outside began to pulse erratically. "Get us out of here, Lieutenant Pottle. Random vector, maximum speed." As the Pathfinder's drive engaged, Chen sat back in her chair, already thinking ahead. The Concordat would be back, of that she was certain. But they'd just learned something valuable about humanity. And humanity had just learned they weren't alone in the universe. More importantly, they'd learned that even gods could bleed. "Send a message to Earth," Chen ordered. Tell them everything's about to change. And we're going to need every brilliant mind, every scrap of innovation we can muster." The Pathfinder vanished into FTL, leaving behind a very confused and slightly damaged Eternal Concordat monitoring station. First contact hadn't gone according to plan. But then, when dealing with humans, things rarely did. 6 months after the Pathfinder incident, Dr. Aisha Patel stood in her laboratory beneath the Himalayan mountains, studying the device that could either save humanity or doom it. The crystalline object pulsed with an inner light that seemed to follow its own rhythm, defying every analysis her team had thrown at it. "They're calling it a gift," General Santos said from behind her, his weathered face reflected in the containment field surface. "The Concordat's latest embassy arrived this morning. More gifts are coming." Aisha didn't turn around. "They're not gifts, General. They're leashes." The Concordat had changed tactics after the Pathfinder's escape. Instead of threats, they came bearing technological marvels. Clean energy, medical advances, agricultural innovations, each offering more tempting than the last, each accompanied by smiling representatives who spoke of partnership and progress. "The UN Security Council meets tomorrow to discuss acceptance," Santos continued. "China and Russia are already convinced. The EU is wavering. Only a handful of nations still oppose, because they're not looking deep enough." Aisha interrupted, finally turning to face him. "Show them what we found." She gestured to her assistant, Dr. James Chen, who activated a holographic display. Complex diagrams filled the air between them, showing the inner workings of the Concordat's gift. "It's brilliant, really," James explained, highlighting specific sections. The quantum processor they gave us is 1,000 times more powerful than anything we've developed. But look here. He zoomed in on a particular circuit pattern. And here. And here. Santos squinted. What am I looking at? Backdoors, Aisha said grimly. Hundreds of them. The processor doesn't just compute, it observes, records, transmits. Every device they've offered has similar systems built in. Accept their gifts, and we give them eyes and ears in every major institution on Earth. The general's expression darkened. Can you prove it? Better. Aisha smiled thinly. We can use it. She led them to another section of the lab where dozens of similar crystals pulsed with light. These are our replicas. Not perfect copies. We couldn't match their quantum architecture exactly. But we learned something interesting. The flaws in our manufacturing process created something new. James typed a command, and the crystals pulsing synchronized. The Concordat's technology is based on perfect order, absolute control. But human technology, we embrace chaos, imperfection. And sometimes, imperfection is exactly what you need. We've modified their design, Aisha continued. Our versions still have the backdoors, but they're redirected. Every bit of data they try to collect gets fed into a quantum maze of our own making, and while their systems are trying to untangle it, we can trace the signals back, James finished, map their network, understand their tech, and they'll never know because they're too convinced of their own superiority to imagine we could repurpose their perfect systems. Santos studied the crystals thoughtfully. How long until they notice? That's the beautiful part, Aisha said. Their entire civilization is built on predictability. Control. They literally cannot conceive of technology working in a way they didn't intend. Their algorithms will try to force our flawed crystals to behave correctly, creating an endless loop of corrections that looks exactly like normal operation to their monitoring systems. We've already started production, James added. Facilities in Brazil, Kenya, and Indonesia are manufacturing our modified versions. When the Concordat's next shipment arrives, we swap them. Santos nodded, right under their noses. Exactly. Aisha's eyes gleamed with fierce pride. They want to give us chains disguised as gifts. Fine. We'll take their chains and forge them into keys. A warning light flashed on one of the monitors. Concordat ship entering orbit, James reported. Right on schedule. Time to make a decision, General, Aisha said quietly. Do we play it safe, reject their tech entirely? Or do we show them why humans are dangerous even when we're accepting gifts? Santos straightened his uniform. The Security Council needs to see this. All of it. And then, he smiled grimly. Then we teach these eternal beings a lesson about evolution. Species that don't adapt, that can't handle chaos and imperfection. They stagnate, Aisha finished. And we're about to introduce more chaos than their perfect order has seen in 50 million years. As if in response, the crystals pulse brighter, their light reflecting off the stone walls like stars being born in the depths of the earth. Above them, the Concordat's embassy vessel settled into orbit, its holds full of gifts that would soon become something very different in human hands. The chains of progress were about to strangle those who forged them, and humanity, as always, would find a way to dance in their shackles until they became wings. Commander Maya Rodriguez stood at the viewport of the diplomatic vessel Nova Dawn, watching the crystalline ships of the Cyrax drift into formation around them. To the Concordat's monitoring stations, this was a routine trade mission to one of their client species. The reality was far more interesting. They're ready for us, Lieutenant Kai Wong reported from his communications station. The Cyrax are masking our transmissions with their crystalline field harmonics. Maya nodded, straightening her formal uniform. The Cyrax had been under Concordat control for 3 centuries, their once mighty civilization reduced to producing exotic materials for their benefactors. But like humanity, they hadn't lost their spirit of defiance. They'd just learned to hide it better. The meeting chamber aboard the Cyrax vessel was a marvel of crystalline architecture, light refracting through living walls in patterns that seemed to speak directly to the soul. Elder Syrinx, their host, resembled a being made of living diamond, facets catching and splitting light as they moved. "Welcome, children of Earth," the elder's voice chimed like wind through crystal. "We have much to discuss, and little time to do so." Maya placed a small device on the crystalline table. It pulsed once, creating a field that would make their conversation appear as routine trade negotiations to any monitoring systems. "We bring greetings from Earth and proof of what we discussed in our encoded transmissions." She nodded to Dr. James Chen, who had been crucial in reverse engineering the Concordat's technology. He activated a holographic display showing the modified quantum processors they'd developed. "We'd found ways to subvert their monitoring systems, create blind spots in their perfect order." The elder's crystalline form shifted, creating harmonics that Maya's translator rendered as thoughtful interest. "You've achieved in months what we've attempted for centuries. Perhaps there is hope after all." "More than hope," Maya said, activating another hologram. "We've made contact with others. The Nexeri in the Orion Arm, the Velithians near the galactic core, even the mysterious Three. All species bound by the Concordat's gifts, all waiting for a chance to break free. And you believe now is the time." Elder Syrinx's tone held centuries of caution. "Now is exactly the time," James interjected, his excitement barely contained. "The Concordat's strength is their perfect order, their absolute control. But that's also their weakness. They can't conceive of their technology being used in ways they didn't intend. Each species we contact adds their own unique perspectives, their own flaws to the system." Maya brought up another display, this one showing a complex network of connections. "We're not just building a rebellion, Elder. We're creating chaos in their order. Every modified device, every subverted system adds to the noise. Their perfect patterns are beginning to show cracks." The elder studied the displays, light rippling through their crystalline form. "The risk is enormous. If the Concordat discovers this, they already suspect something," Maya admitted, "but their own nature works against them. They're looking for organized resistance, for military buildups and secret fleets. They can't comprehend the idea of weapons built from their own chains." "And what of the other species?" Elder Syrinx asked. "Those who truly believe in the Concordat's way. Some will fight to maintain the old order," James acknowledged. "But others are watching, waiting. The Concordat's control isn't just about technology. It's about convincing everyone that resistance is impossible. Once that illusion cracks..." The elder's form resonated with deep harmonics. "You speak of revolution. We speak of evolution," Maya corrected. "The galaxy has been frozen in the Concordat's perfect order for too long. It's time for change. Controlled chaos. True cooperation between species, not just eternal submission to those who came before." Elder Syrinx was silent for a long moment, their crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns. Finally, they spoke. "The Syrinx remember what it was to be free. To create, to explore, to chart our own course among the stars. We've kept that memory alive through centuries of subtle defiance." They gestured, and the chamber's walls shifted, revealing hidden chambers filled with technology that hummed with forbidden power. "We are not the only ones. Every species under their control has secret places, hidden knowledge, dreams they could not quite crush. Until now, we've all worked alone, thinking ourselves unique in our resistance." Maya smiled. "Not anymore. Humanity might be new to the galactic stage, but we're very, very good at bringing people together, especially people who have a common enemy. The Concordat believes they've contained us," James added. "They think their monitoring systems see all, control all. But every species here has found their own unique blind spots in that control. Together, Elder Syrinx finished, we might actually succeed where each alone would fail." They straightened, their crystalline form blazing with inner light. "The Syrinx will join your coalition, children of Earth, and we bring more than just our technology. We bring 3 centuries of accumulated knowledge about the Concordat's weaknesses and contacts with dozens of other species who might be persuaded to join our cause. Maya's smile widened. Elder, that's exactly what we were hoping to hear. As they began sharing data, mapping out connections and possibilities, Maya couldn't help but appreciate the irony. The Concordat had spent millions of years ensuring no single species could challenge their power. In doing so, they'd created a galaxy full of potential allies, all waiting for someone to show them that resistance wasn't just possible, it was inevitable. The silent rebellion was spreading, one subverted system at a time. And when it finally broke into the open, the Concordat would learn that perfect order was no match for the creative chaos of freedom. Admiral Sarah Chen watched from the bridge of the UES Pathfinder as the Concordat's massive fleet dropped out of hyperspace, their ships arranged in perfect geometric patterns that seemed to mock the very concept of chaos. After 2 years of subtle resistance, the hammer was finally falling. 15 capital ships, Captain Rodriguez reported from her tactical station. Over 100 support vessels. They're deploying their protective platforms. Chen's lips tightened. The Concordat had finally tired of humanity's partial compliance and endless negotiations. They'd arrived with overwhelming force to install their control infrastructure, whether Earth agreed or not. All stations report ready, Commander Wong announced. The network is active. Send the signal, Chen ordered. Let's show them what humanity and our allies have been building. Across Earth's orbit, thousands of seemingly innocuous satellites and debris pieces suddenly activated. Modified quantum processors, built with technology from a dozen different species, came online in perfect asymmetric harmony. The Concordat's own monitoring systems had watched them being deployed, categorizing them as simple communication relays and orbital cleanup devices. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The lead Concordat vessel's communication came through, its artificial channel dripping with condescension. This is Overseer Eternal 9. Your species has exhausted our patience. The protective platforms will be installed. Resistance will result in immediate technological regression protocols. Chen smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. This is Admiral Chen of the United Earth Fleet. I believe we've met before, though I was just a captain then. You should really scan those platforms before you deploy them. There was a pause. When Eternal 9 spoke again, there was an edge of uncertainty in their voice. Our platforms are perfect expressions of order. They require no inspection. Perfect expressions of order, Chen repeated. Built with quantum processors manufactured to your exact specifications. Tell me, did you ever wonder why we agreed to produce them for you? Why we seemed to accept your technology so readily after our initial resistance? Warning signals flashed across the Concordat fleet as their platforms began activating ahead of schedule. But instead of establishing the planned control network, they interfaced with the hidden human systems, creating something entirely new. Impossible, Eternal 9 declared. Our systems cannot be modified. Our control is absolute. Control is an illusion, Chen responded. One you've maintained for 50 million years through technical superiority and the assumption that younger species could never match your understanding. But you forgot something fundamental about the universe. The space around Earth seemed to ripple as thousands of hidden quantum processors activated in concert, their overlapping fields creating patterns that even the Concordat sensors struggled to comprehend. The Cyrax taught us about crystalline computing, Chen continued. The Velithians showed us quantum harmonics we'd never imagined. The Stari contributed their understanding of dimensional physics, and humanity. We brought chaos, innovation, the willingness to try the impossible. Concordat ships began reporting system failures as the combined technology of a dozen rebellious species interfered with their perfect order. Their formations started to break apart as automated systems responded to phantom threats. This is your final warning, Eternal 9 announced, but there was real fear in their voice now. Submit to control or face extinction. Chen's response was to activate the main display, showing not just Earth's orbit, but the space around hundreds of other worlds. On each screen, similar scenes were playing out as supposedly subjugated species revealed their own hidden preparations. "No," Chen said simply. "Humanity's gift to the galaxy isn't just technology or tactics. It's the realization that chains only work when people believe they can't be broken. Look around you, Overseer. Really look. This isn't just Earth refusing your control. This is every species you've ever tried to contain, working together in ways your perfect order never imagined possible." The Concordat fleet's formations had completely dissolved now, their ships struggling against cascading system failures as centuries of hidden innovations finally activated in concert. "You face a choice," Chen continued. "You can retreat, recognize our independence, and begin negotiations for a genuine partnership of equals. Or you can try to maintain your control through force, and watch as 50 million years of carefully maintained order descends into glorious chaos." Eternal Nine's response was cut off as their flagship's systems crashed, overwhelmed by the combined technological assault of a dozen different species, each contributing their own unique flaws to create something the Concordat's perfect systems simply couldn't process. As the mighty fleet began an inglorious retreat, Chen looked around her bridge. Humans worked alongside Sirac's crystalline forms and holographic Velithian interfaces, their imperfect collaboration achieving what perfect order never could. "Send word to the other worlds," she ordered. "Tell them it's time. The age of the Concordat's control is over. The age of chaos, of freedom, has begun." The stars seemed to shine brighter as humanity and their allies prepared to reshape a galaxy that had been static for far too long. Perfect order had met its match in the creative chaos of cooperation, and nothing would ever be the same. The grand chamber of the new Galactic Alliance bore little resemblance to the sterile perfection of the old Concordat halls. Located on a neutral world at the galaxy's edge, its architecture was a deliberate blend of styles. Crystalline Sirac spires intersecting with flowing Velithian curves, human-inspired organic patterns, merging with three quantum geometries. It was beautiful precisely because of its imperfections. Dr. Aisha Patel stood at the central podium, looking out at the assembled representatives of over 50 species. Some had been part of the initial rebellion. Others had joined once they saw the Concordat's perfect order crumbling. Even a few former Concordat loyalists were present, those who had recognized the need for change. 1 year ago, she began, her voice carrying across the chamber. "We proved that the galaxy's future lies not in perfect order, but in the creative chaos of cooperation. Today, we take the next step." Behind her, a massive holographic display activated, showing the prototype of what they dubbed the Unity Network. Unlike the Concordat's rigid control systems, this was something entirely new, a technological framework that adapted to each species' unique characteristics rather than forcing them into predetermined patterns. "The old order believed that progress could only come through control," Aisha continued. "They spent 50 million years proving themselves wrong. In just 1 year of true collaboration, we've made advances they never dreamed possible." Elder Syrinx of the Cyrax moved forward, their crystalline form refracting light in patterns of agreement. "The integration of human quantum theory with our crystalline computing has opened entirely new fields of study. Knowledge that the Concordat suppressed for centuries is finally being explored." "And weaponry?" asked a former Concordat world representative, their tone concerned. "Without central control, what prevents conflict?" Captain Maya Rodriguez, now Admiral of the Alliance Fleet, stepped up to answer. "We're not preventing anything. That was the Concordat's mistake. Instead, we're building something better. A galaxy where cooperation is more advantageous than conflict, where each species' unique perspectives and abilities are valued rather than suppressed." The display shifted to show various collaborative projects across the galaxy. Sirac's crystal technology merged with human AI systems, creating new forms of faster-than-light travel. Velithian energy manipulation combined with three-dimensional physics, revolutionizing power generation. Each breakthrough bore the marks of multiple species working together. But perhaps most importantly, Asia continued, we're preserving the lesson that humanity helped the galaxy remember: the power of questioning, of chaos, of imperfection. Every species here has something unique to contribute, perspectives that evolved from their own unique histories and challenges. The chamber's lighting shifted as its three representatives phased into view, their multi-dimensional form a reminder of how diverse galactic life truly was. The Concordat sought to eliminate variables, to create a single, perfect pattern. In doing so, they nearly eliminated the very thing that drives the universe forward: evolution through diversity. Asia nodded. The Unity Network is more than just technology. It's a philosophy. A recognition that true progress comes not from enforcing order, but from embracing chaos. Not from control, but from cooperation. She gestured, and the display showed the former Concordat territories. Where once there had been rigid boundaries and controlled space, now there was a flowing network of trade routes, cultural exchanges, and collaborative research centers. There are still challenges ahead, Maya added. Some former Concordat worlds resist change. Pirates and opportunists test our borders. But we face these challenges together, each in our own way, adding to our collective strength through our differences rather than despite them. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of approval, human applause mixing with Sirac's crystalline harmonics, Velithian energy pulses, and dozens of other species' unique expressions of agreement. As the celebration continued, Asia found herself standing with Maya and Elder Cyrix, watching the diverse gathering of species interacting freely. "Did you ever imagine this?" Maya asked quietly. "When you first started modifying those quantum processors?" Asia smiled. "Not even close. But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? The Concordat could never have imagined this either. That was their weakness, the inability to conceive of anything beyond their perfect order." And now, Elder Cyrix chimed. "What does humanity imagine for the future?" Asia looked out at the chamber, at the beautiful chaos of 50 different species finding their own ways to work together. Now we keep pushing boundaries, keep questioning assumptions, keep reminding the galaxy that the most beautiful things often come from imperfection. Above them, through the chamber's transparent dome, the galaxy spiraled on, billions of stars spinning in patterns that were both chaotic and perfect in their own way. Humanity had helped break the chains of order, but that was just the beginning. The real adventure, as always, lay in what came next, in the endless possibilities that arose when different minds, different species, different ways of thinking came together not in perfect order, but in creative chaos. It was going to be magnificent.